Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, and anybody that's new, welcome. My name's Debbie, I'm the Crafty Shopper. I just want to do a shout out to Kay, Robin, Marquetta, Lori, Arlene from Barbados, Loretta, and Mel. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your comments, guys, and I'm a little slow. Summertime is a super busy time with gardening. I spend a lot of time every other weekend at the cottage. I plan a few trips out of town. I have company coming in. So the last couple weeks I've been just super busy, and we're gonna start a new tutorial today. This build I thought could be a 2-in-1, a Halloween / Christmas. I know Christmas is far away, but this is gonna be a 2-in-1. So basically it's the same build, but you can make it either or, and I will do both. So I will, the build we're gonna do right now is going to be, I'm gonna do 2 of them, one off camera, and then I'll show you what else you can change it. So you can either do either or, but the exact same build. You're gonna need a ruler from Dollar Tree. You can find this L-shaped carpenter ruler, square ruler. You can find this in the hardware section of Dollar Tree. It's good to keep your blocks nice and straight. And when I glue them, I'm just going to show you here. When I glue pieces together, for example, just like this, I glue them and then I just move them around on my mat, and I just keep gluing pieces together. So, and then I'll just have my whole mat. Now the mat is from IKEA. I get a question a lot all the time. I know some people said that they had a silicone mat. In one of my videos back, my Temu video I think a month or two ago, I bought a silicone mat and the blocks would not slide on it. I did not like it. So I just I can buff this out if I get paint on it or glue. I just find this is a great working mat. I'm in Canada, so it's about $6 something, but it's an awesome mat. If you want something, and it just protects your table, your tablecloth, plastic, whatever you have on your table, whatever surface you do work on, it's a very good protector of that. Now, if you are new to my channel, I do have a saying when I go through block counts, because I do pre-glue some of my stuff and then we build it together. I never really know what it's gonna look like near the end. So this build is gonna be 291, but the second part of it, we're gonna add a few blocks to it. But basically it's 291. So the first one we're gonna do is the stacking pumpkins. Here in Canada, we don't have a Dollar Tree Plus store, so I cannot buy the stacking pumpkins, and I thought it'd be fun to try with Jenga blocks. So when I say flat, it's basically gluing the smaller sides on each side and gluing it like such. So just side by side when I say flat. When I say stacked, the blocks are glued together on the wider part of the blocks. And that's how I do stacked. Now, if I did a build, if I was gluing these together right now, there's some glue on there and I'm not sure why, but I will take that block out. And the reason being is it's a lot shorter, and because we use Dollar Tree Jenga blocks, I don't know if my head's gonna be there. Dollar Tree Jenga blocks are not actually, this one's a little bit shorter and that's okay, but this one was quite a bit shorter and that will bug me, and I try to keep them straight level. So when you do them, that just make sure, just take that block out, and sometimes it'll fit with some other blocks because they're never the same size. I do use the Dollar Tree tumbling tower, aka Jenga blocks. This is the old packaging and this is the new packaging. You can find them in the toys section at Dollar Tree. Sometimes they have them on the end cap. You can always ask a manager. They'll usually know what you're talking about. Now, here in Canada, we have to buy in store. We don't have online or shipping to your store, nothing like that. But if any of you are in the USA, you can order online. Now, the only thing that I heard about ordering online, sometimes you have to order a case, sometimes you have to order a minimum of 6 boxes. So it really depends. Excuse me. Sometimes you can get them shipped. You can get them shipped to your store free, depending on where you live in the U.S. Because some people can and some people can't. But you can also sign up for the DollarTree.com website in the U.S. and they do email out. So just keep an eye on your email. Every once in a while, they'll give you 50% off shipping to your house. Now, I see a lot of. I'm in some crafting groups on social media platform, and I see people using hot glue. Now, the only time I ever suggest using hot glue is if you're going to glue a piece or two or something to an existing build, but I would never suggest gluing any blocks together. I know a lot of people saying, oh, I really want to do it really fast. Well, if you're going to put the time and effort to make a build, I always say patience. Patience is the best key factor with Jenga blocks because you want to make sure that they dry. And if you're going to put all that time for effort and to paint it and you're going to give it as a gift, you don't want it to fall apart. And when you put hot glue together, I had a piece here before, but when you hot glue them together, they don't actually glue properly together, and sometimes you have strings and glue sticking out, and then it just doesn't look super nice. Now, my preference that I use, and I've never tried Gorilla Glue or the wood glue from DT. Thank you to Terry. She sent me a bottle, and I'm saving it. I don't know why, Terry. I'm just saving it for a build that I don't think I'll need all the glue, because I do want to make one just to do a comparison. You can use the Gorilla wood glue. I just use the Well Bond. Just make sure you read any of the instructions that you use for drying time. Now, usually I use, with my Well Bond, I usually leave it a couple hours, depending on the size of the build. Sometimes the blocks will shift if they're not totally dry, and you might have a wonky build, lopsided. So just be mindful of the time of drying. And once you do it a couple times, you'll know. I can usually grab my pieces and I'll know right away if they're dry or not. Now, we are gonna start the build. So I said 291 blocks, and we are doing the stacking pumpkins. We are gonna do the bigger pumpkin, and we're gonna start with the bottom of the row, the very bottom of the build, and we are gonna start. So we're gonna need 10 rows for just one pumpkin, which is the bottom pumpkin. So we're gonna start at the bottom with 7 flat. The next row is 8 flat, and you're gonna center it as we're trying to do here. Then we're gonna switch to 17 stacked. I'm gonna center that right there. 18 stacked. And we're gonna move to 19 stacked. And we're gonna go back to 18 stacked. So now we built up to here. Now we're gonna go closer in. Then we're gonna do 17 stacked. We're gonna do 9 flat. We're gonna do 8 flat. And the last piece, 7 flat. So this pumpkin right here is 128 pieces. So that's the bottom one. I'm gonna glue it off camera, but I'm gonna glue it and I'm gonna leave it right over there. So we're gonna do the middle pumpkin now. And we're gonna start off with 6 flat, 14 stacked, 15 stacked, 16 stacked, 15 stacked, 8 flat, 7 flat, and 6 flat. There we got our second pumpkin. So I'm just gonna move these over. Actually, I'm just gonna put them over there like this. Now we're gonna do the top row. So the middle pumpkin was 8 rows, the very bottom one was 10, and the top one is gonna be 8 rows as well. And we're gonna start with 5 flat. And I'm gonna move on to the next one here. And this one is going to be 12 stacked. So I had to do an adjustment because I knew my one count was off. So it's 290, sorry about that. So we had the 5 flat, 12 stacked, and we're gonna move to 13 stacked, 14 stacked, 13 stacked. We got 7 flat, 6 flat, and 5 flat. So you have all 3. Now you can glue them right one on top of the other. I'm gonna glue them, and the only reason why is because I want to paint them different colors and I wanted a straight line. So I'm gonna glue them separate, just like this, and I'm gonna let them sit until they're totally dry, making sure they're nice and even. All right, so it's been about 2.5 hours since I let these dry, and they're pretty good to go. Next thing we're gonna want to do now, if you don't want to do this extra step, you don't have to. You can just paint them as is, and then you can just glue them on top of each other. I'm gonna use spackle. Now I did some pumpkins I think a year or 2 ago. I did pumpkins, and they were, I think, similar to this size, and I did paper towel mache, where I actually just stuck some hot glue, just a little bit of filler in between the sides, and then I did paper towel mache on them, which they turned out good. You can check that video. I'm gonna use, this is a nail file that you can find at DT in the beauty department, or you can get this in the hardware section. I like to go on the corners, just on the edge here, just so they're not so pointy and sharp. And you can just buff those out a little bit on each side. Or I have a Dremel that you can use as well if you have a filer, or there's this one as well, which works really, I find this works better than the buffer. And it's just on the corners to make them more round. And you can do that on either side. Now, I think it was Jackie that told me that she tried with the, she tried wood filler, and she said it worked really well. As far as I know, Dollar Tree, mine doesn't sell spackle. It's basically just dry text. You can buy it at Rona / Lowe's, Home Depot. Any hardware store carries it. Apparently the Dollar Tree one has it, and another person said they used the Dollar Tree, they liked it, another person didn't. Now it does look pink, but once it dries, it's white. Now, if you're new to my channel, I've used these. This is my newest thing that I like using. Now, I'm just gonna show you here. I just use a knife. You can use a putty knife or anything like that. I like to smooth out this surface so you can see the cracks right there. This is the great thing about it. I've tried clay in the past and the air dry one, and I didn't like the clay because after it dried, it actually shrunk, and it helps with the blocks when they're uneven, as you can see here. And I'm not going to put any more in it because I want to do some more filing, but it will make the surface a lot smoother. And I want to do the side cracks as best as I can. Just a little bit of a filler in between. I'm just going to show you here quickly that you just put it on like butter. I guess this is the best way I can explain it. Now this is just an extra step if you want to do that. And even if it's not perfect, the best thing is when it dries, you can just file it and buff it right out nice and soft. And it just helps fill in the little areas there to just make it more round. So that's what I'm gonna do on all three of them. All right, so I left these overnight, and the reason the front you usually don't have to leave overnight just because it's a very thin layer, but because the grooves, they're a little bit deeper and the spackle needs to dry. So I let them dry overnight. And then of course I was at work all day today, so they are fully dry. You're just gonna take some buffing blocks. You can buy this, find this in the hardware section of DT, just some nail files or buffers you have on hand. Like I said, you don't have to do this extra step. And then I do this outside just because it gets a little dusty and I don't want to clean all my area all the time. So I do it outside, and then I just run a hose off my driveway, sit off the step, and you just file it down, and it's just that easy that you can do. And you just do along the sides here and the front. Just make sure there's none left on the top or the bottom so it sits nice. And then once you're done, you have a nice smooth finish on the sides. Once I get this last one filed, I am going to paint them, and I was deciding, I was going with back and forth, but since this one first DIY is going to be Halloween, I'm just going to do the traditional one pumpkin black, one orange, and one white. I'm not sure in what order until I get down to painting them, but you can pick whatever colors you like. These are just the colors that I'm going to use. Now, the only thing about when you use spackle, you cannot use stain. So if you want to use stain on this and do more of a rustic look, you can't use spackle. All right, so now that they're dry, we're actually just going to glue them together one over the top. So I went with the orange on the bottom, the black, and then the white. It did take a couple coats. The reason why I wanted to do them separate, it was just easier to maneuver them around. So just with filing and stuff like that. And the paint, because then you'll get nice straight lines. Now, I'm going to put a little base on this. This is just a piece of wood from Dollar Tree. And I am going to stain it a dark walnut, just some gel stain that I got from Rona. But I'm going to make sure it's totally dry before I glue it on the bottom. All right, now that we have the painting done, I have these stickers that are from Michael's. And I had different ones. If you have a Cricut, you could use that too. I decided to go with the Trick or Treat, the Ghost, and the Boo right on the front. I haven't decided if I want to distress it yet. I want to put a couple more things on it before I decide that, which you can also do as well. The one I did with the paper towel mache, I did distress it a bit. Once I stick these on, I want to put in between the cracks here is I'm just going to hot glue some Spanish moss, maybe just a little bit in the front, but just working more on the sides. I'm also going to glue it right to the base right now, and I'm going to use Wellbond. I'm not going to use hot glue just because it is a heavy build, and put some moss around the bottom. All right, now for the top. DT had these little wood pieces. They actually come longer. I just found that this one was a little bit too long for the top. I have them in different bags because there was different kinds of packaging. Oh, there was some, what are they? They're actually called just wood stems. And they all come in different sizes. I took this one because it was a little bit taller. I am just gonna hot glue that onto the top and put some more Spanish moss around the top of it. So once I have that on, I'm just gonna grab some DT ribbon I just recently got. Just made a little bow. I'm actually just gonna put it on the front left. You can put it in the middle if you want to put a bow. DT has the little spiders that came out, and they're just starting to bring the Halloween stuff out now. And I just recently picked these up. It's a little bit glittery. It's okay, you just take the back stem and cut the flat part. I'm just gonna place that one on. I have a little fly, I can't find all my Halloween stuff yet. So just gonna put those 3 on, and I will show you at the end of the video what it looks like from obviously a different angle. Just gonna move this out of the way. Now with the exact same build, so this is 190 blocks with the same design we did with that. I'm not gonna use spackle on this one. Gonna use some yarn. I don't have it beside me right now, but because of the yarn, I'm gonna do a snowman, and I wanna make sure that the corners are similar to the spackle, but then you're not gonna see it to be filed down. So I'm just gonna take my hot glue gun and use just in the little bit, I'm just gonna fill the corners in. So when you wrap the yarn, at least it's not so block looking, if that makes sense. And I'm just gonna go along all the sides on each side. I'm probably just gonna buff out the little corners so they're not so pointy over the yarn. Give it a couple coats of white, and then I'm gonna show you the yarn we're gonna put on it and how we're gonna do it. I may add blocks to this build, even though it's 290. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the hat and Jenga blocks or material. All right, so I gave it a good coat of paint. It still could use obviously a bunch of coats if you were gonna leave it like this, but you can do the pumpkins like I said earlier. You can put the spackle in there and do the similar concept that we did with the stacking pumpkins, but I just wanted a base coat so we wouldn't see underneath. I bought this huge ball of Chanel thick Chanel from I was gonna say Dollar Tree from Walmart, and I really liked it, and I thought it's gonna be perfect. I want it to be a really fuzzy snowman, and I'm sure I won't even, it's 87 meters. I doubt I am gonna use all that. We're gonna leave the top empty only for the fact that we are gonna put something on top. And the hot glue, like I said, putting in there was just a little bit of a filler, so to speak. And I'm just gonna wrap it around. I'm gonna hot glue it all the way around. And I'm just gonna keep it nice and tight and together as I go all the way around it. So you will have the big fuzzy effect all the way around except the bottom and the top. All right, so now that I wrapped it up, and I'm not gonna lie, it took almost an hour, kept straight lines, keeping it tight and squished up so you don't see underneath. And the reason why we want to put the white is just to make sure if there's any little spots that stick out, it's not showing the brown color of the Jenga blocks. And I just wanted to show you how much I still have left, so that's great. Definitely can use that as Christmas season's coming. You never know for what else we could do. I think the scarf I did is just a little bit too thick, but I just had that on hand, and it's just a men's scarf from Dollar Tree that I had. It's a little bit long. I haven't tied it around. It's just a little bit thick, so I am going to trim it down a bit. We're going to start with the face before we do the hat. And I just have buttons, and you want to make sure it's just a little bit down before we put the hat, so when you're looking at it, at least the eyes are not way too close to the top. Just an extra couple buttons, and I'm going to turn them all, keeping the little circles kind of like all even, just like that. And when I hot glue them on, I'm going to do the hot glue, and I'm going to press it down just to make sure that it's, if you don't press it down, it might just, especially with the Chanel, it's a little bit thick. And then I just got a bunch of little buttons, and once again, you're going to be mindful, you are putting a scarf here, so around the neckline, you don't want to do it too close to the neckline where we're going to wrap the scarf, and we're just going to make them have a really big happy face. And if you can look in your stash, I'm sure all of you, being amazing crafters that you are, will have one of these little carrots from Dollar Tree. If not, I did see someone last year use one of those little tiny trees, you know, the cleaning thing, if you know what I'm talking about, Dollar Tree had a bunch of those. You could also paint that orange. I just cut it more of an angle, and not because I wanted to do it like this, but more to stick it sideways on an angle, and I will just hot glue all those on. All right, next thing we're gonna do is the hat. Now, I had this in my crafting stash. I believe it is from Dollarama. I'm not sure if Dollar Tree does have the wider ones like we used for the stacking pumpkins. As you can see, it's a lot bigger and it'd be too big. I am going to use this one. I want to put a base on the snowman, but this one's a lot smaller. Now, you can also use Jenga blocks. You'd have to refer to my other video, except with that small snowman that I use Jenga blocks for the hat. It is a lot smaller, so you'd have to make it bigger and I think taller, especially for this build. But I am going to use this. You can use, if you use some thick thick foam paper and do maybe a couple layers, you could actually just draw it out and cut out this design as well. I'm just going to use this piece and I am going to paint it black. And then the next thing that I want to do now, this is just some felt roll from Dollar Tree. It is very thin. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it is too thin, but I want the hat to be able to stand up. So I took some foam paper, and this was the height of the hat that I want to put on top. So I just cut it, and I will just tell you here if I have my tape measure, because I know someone will ask me. It is, so it's just almost 3.5 inches tall. You can make it shorter or taller if you want. Now, I just wrapped it and it's going to be too small, or sorry, way too big. But the reason for that is I want some stability. So I cut a piece of felt off, and I just hot glued, flipped it over in half, hot glued it right underneath, right here. I'm gonna turn it inside out, just like that. So I'm just gonna sit it on there just like that. As I said, it's very thin, so I don't want it to flop down when I put a top on it. So I'm just gonna fold this, and I'm not even gonna glue it. I'm just gonna fold it in. And then it's just going to bounce out until it can't anymore. Once I paint this black, I would just hot glue this right on. And I might just hot glue this corner here too, just to be on the safe side. Now I want it a little bit more oval, just with the shape of this. And I will be able to do that when I hot glue it on. I took a round martini glass, just one of those plastic ones you have on your patio in the summer. Except once I cut it out, I made sure that I made it more flat on the sides as to more round, because like I said, I want to do a little bit more round. And I would just hot glue this piece on right there, just like that. So it's just a tad bigger than the middle part, which is fine. And then I just cut another piece of the felt, and I would just hot glue it right on like that, all the way around the edges, and you will have a hat just like that. Well, it won't be done. I'm just going to hot glue this and paint it off camera, and then we'll add to the hat. All right, now that I have it glued on, it's looking good. I just got some DT red ribbon. I'm just going to push it here on the side. I'm going to wrap this around, hot glue it around the back. I had this piece, as you can see, I picked at it last year and I cut a lot of things off it. It was a thing that goes around a candle and you sit the candle in. I did take one of the little foliage off. This is, I guess, from, had a little piece like that. I snipped that off. Snipped one of those off, and this one I believe is from another, because it has a little bit of snow on it. Once I hot glue that on, I'm just gonna stick this right here. I'm gonna kind of incorporate that into the back, put this right in here and add a little red. I think I'm gonna do it more in the front when it's upright. Let me glue those on. All right, I got it on. I think it looks really good. I did find a bell when I was searching through some stuff, so I'm just gonna hot glue a little bell on right there on the side of the hat. The next thing I'm gonna do is I actually found a fake snow. I'm still trying to pull out all my Christmas stuff, my Christmas stash. So I'm just gonna put some snow around the edges and just a little bit on the hat here. And I'm just gonna paint it on. I'm just gonna do a little bit of the matte Mod Podge and just put the faux snow on. Once I have that done, we're gonna put it right on top of here. So just be mindful when you're gluing on your fur that the fur is not sticking up or it's not gonna sit flush to the base of the top of the head. I am gonna use some hot glue and some Well Bond when I put it on. And when I do put it on, I'm gonna make sure that the Well Bond and the hot glue don't touch, because if they touch together, the glues, it won't set and it won't dry. All right, we're gonna move on to the arms now. I have a little funny story today on my way back home. I stopped into McDonald's to get a Happy Meal, one of those Happy Meals you buy for the kids. And when I opened up the box to my meal, I saw these in it, and I laughed so hard, and I was so excited that I was like, oh, first thought was, oh, how many Happy Meals am I gonna have to buy to make something with them? And you know, I don't want to say it's super light. They could have been plastic. And then I was very disappointed once I opened them and I was looking and I'm like, what is that? And open them up, and it's basically paper that you fold into a Jenga block. So that was my my excitement for the day. I thought it was pretty funny. I did put one together, and anyways, I just thought it was funny, and I thought I'd share the little dismay today when I got excited to see that they had Jenga blocks. All right. Another thing I wanted to mention, please make sure you guys put your name on your work. I know I sound like a teacher now, but with all the scamming that's going on Facebook and people stealing other people's pictures and trying to sell their crafts that they don't even have, a good way to deter some of these scammers online is to put your name on there. I know my picture has been taken a few times, even though it has my name, but it's one little extra step that at least when people read the comments, that they'll notice right away that it's not the person's work. Not everybody notices, but at least it keeps them from taking them and calling them their own or trying to sell them. For their arms, there's a couple different ways you can do them. You can get some sticks. Maybe you can find something outside. You can use one of these. They're just floral picks from DT. They came in a pack of 6 last year. They came in like the shiny ones and ones with a little bit of snow on them. You just cut one of those off right there and do 2 arms. You could use sticks. I'm gonna do some nautical rope. And this is just from DT. It's the thickest one I've ever seen at DT. So I did cut out a piece. Now, I think this still might be a little bit too long, and I'll show you what we're gonna do. So, let's see, it's just over 4.5 inches that I've cut. What we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna show you here. I like using these little cups. I don't know if anybody else uses these. I like using them for paint, and especially Mod Podge. I always say Mod Podge. The matte one. I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. Now I'm just gonna make sure it's twisted nice and tight. And I'm just gonna paint it right on. You're gonna do that. I'm not gonna go up to this much, just there for the top part of the arms. And what's it going to do is, once it dries, it's gonna be a little bit more stiff. So it's not gonna be like really floppy, and I'm just gonna twist it some more as I put this on. And I'll show you a finished one here in a second. I already tried it out. I'm just gonna do this. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer. All right, I think that's good enough. Now, it's not very sunny out, and I'll probably put this in a window if I can find some sun that will dry faster. I could use a heat gun, I guess, but I'm just gonna use, I don't want it to, sometimes the heat gun melts things. So I'm just gonna hold it, make sure that, and you twist it the way the rope twists, and I'm just gonna let that dry. And I think this one has to be twisted a little bit more up here. And then the glue will dry. Now I'm just gonna leave it like that and let it totally dry. Now once that's dry, I'm gonna show you. I have one here. And all I did, the reason why I left that end piece is you're just gonna fluff it out. So kind of like hands, so to speak. And if you keep it straight, you can see it's not as bendy. Got a little bit of a twist to it, and I'm just gonna put it on the side of there. And I still think this is a little bit too long, so I am just gonna cut it. I'm gonna do 2 of those. I'm gonna wait for that one to dry to finish it off. And I'm just gonna hot glue these. The end is on an angle, so when you stick it on, it's not totally sticking out straight, and that it will be hot glued right in to the side on an angle, so it gives a nice kind of like a cross. Now, I showed you this one earlier from Dollar Tree. I just stained the top, and I just thought, well, just be a good little different color. You can do white, but I think it would mesh too much with the snowman. And I'm just gonna glue them right on top, and simply, I'm just gonna add some of the fake snow around the bottom. I got a couple pine cones here. These ones are from Dollarama from last year, and I just pulled them off. They're actually plastic, they're not even real pine cones, and stick a couple on the bottom and keep it simple. I don't have all my Christmas stuff out, and then once I get those all done and glued this on, I'm gonna turn the camera and show you the finished builds for both the stacking pumpkins and the snowman. All right, so here is the final build for both of them. I think they turned out really well. I really like the jute rope for the arms. Gives it a nice offset with the base being brown as well, and the stain. Are you gonna make one, or are you gonna make both of them? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Give me a thumbs up, it just helps my analytics. Thank you for all of you that message me and show me all your recreations of my builds. I really appreciate it, and I love to see everybody's builds. You guys are all really, really talented. Happy crafting. We'll see you soon. Bye.